This is the Griffin Realty Group Ask-A-Griffin podcast, episode number 67. We continue in our agent plan, and the question on the table today, are you considerate of a prospect's timing, or are you pushing too hard? Are you a home seller, a home buyer who has questions about buying or selling residential property, or maybe an agent who needs direction, but you can't find an easy way to get your answers? Well, then, hey, you are definitely in the right place. I'm Danny Griffin, the founder of the Griffin Realty Group and the host of the Ask-A-Griffin podcast. Now, to help you take immediate action to get started in the right direction, if you need to sell or buy property right now or in the near future, or maybe you want to become a real estate agent, or you are one already and you want to take advantage of our plan, well, listen, head on over to get our free step-by-step guides that are waiting at griffincourses.com. Griffin courses.com. All right, let's get started. We continue in this agent series, and the question on the table is, are you considerate of a prospect's timing or pushing too hard? And this segment is part of what we call communication. Obviously, the entire business is predicated on communication, but after you've segmented your database properly and you're trying to follow up and communicate with the context or the contacts that are inside your database, it becomes very important to consider certain concepts. And we went over email in the last podcast episode if you want to go back there. But in this case, it's more so about the conversation that happens. You see, in the database, you're going to have to make outbound calls to people, especially if you purchase leads, which are contacts where you don't know their timing or their reason for doing this at all, which is even more important. Trying to prospect them, turn them into a relational conversation with you or a building of a relation with you where you're serving them, trying to win their business, right? That's what a prospect is versus a lead. They're all contacts. In other words, name, number, telephone, etc. So they have to have a reason. So let's start with this podcast about, are you pushing too hard? I want you to keep that in mind as I go through this. Prospects pursued run away, said a wise marketing guru to me once upon a time. Prospects pursued run away. And this is really a conflict in the mindset of a lot of top producers who are aggressive. I know that because I am one, and I coach a lot of them and have for years, as well as brand new agents in the business. And what I see is over time, agents that want to do more business tend to press harder and harder and harder. And then they hire help in the form of outbound callers / telemarketers who they teach to press. And they teach them techniques, neuro-linguistic programming, certain scripting that triggers somebody. And again, that stuff can be effective, but I equate that to bullying. You're actually bullying a contact into becoming your prospect. If you're being too gimmicky and too tricky with how you're trying to get it, keep them talking, say the coaches and the gurus. And okay, some of that's real, but let's think about this. If you went into an automobile dealership, I'm in the middle of one of these right now, and you walk in and you just really want to browse for real. You're trying to get educated. Maybe you've been to one dealership and you go to another type of car and you're trying to compare these automobiles because you want to buy one that's best for you. You're looking at safety, features, and all the price. And you really genuinely just want to get educated. And yes, you're early on in the process. And yes, maybe if somebody would educate you, maybe you could shrink the timing. But the minute somebody comes in and they start to press too hard, or they've been trained to press too hard, you can feel it. It's just so slippery. The language is so sleazy. It's just such garbage that most of us run away. You know it. If you walk into a clothing store, for example, I'm just looking, I'm just browsing, or any kind of a purchase. If somebody comes at you the wrong way, you run away. So their ability to turn you from a lead who walked onto the showroom floor or into the shoe store, the dress shop, whatever, you get it, and somebody comes at you, you tend to shut down immediately. Why? Because you as the consumer, you're not having your process. Somebody's trying to subject you to what they want, and they couldn't care less about what you want. Don't get me wrong. The lines get blurred. Certainly some of these people being taught this are good people. They feel awkward doing it. They're upset that, you run away and it happens, and they say, shoot, I should have done it better or differently. I mean, there's no doubt that happens, right? There are some good people with some bad training and coaching and systems. But let's just agree that we all agree. If somebody comes at you when you're not ready too hard, you will run away. Prospects pursued run away. So the second point here is, how do you fix that? Well, start off, before you get into scripting and the way that you speak with somebody, get into starting with the mindset of a concierge. So as I redeveloped my business over the last 10 years, I would get above it in my mind. I practice a lot of the Maxwell Maltz techniques from psychocybernetics of theater of the mind. So oftentimes I'll envision myself floating through the lobby at the Ritz-Carlton, for example. And I'll be looking down at the concierge desk, and I'll be listening. And I actually do this live when I go to hotels, or maybe I'll just go for a walk through Boston and I'll walk in and I'll see how they treat you. I did this at a building the other day, and man, was the concierge service just incredible. They made me feel so comfortable going in to speak to a seller. It was startling. I mean, startling in a positive way. I'm so used to, just either not really being cared for, or somebody making you feel unwelcomed when you go in, or some people being really nice but not systematic. This was tight. It was crisp. It was wonderful. And it had the true mindset of a concierge service-oriented building. And so as I sat there, I was directed to a place where it could be comfortable. Could I get you a bottle of water? Really, it's that mindset of service, expecting nothing in return. That's what a concierge does. The desk is there to provide information, to help you with where you're at, what you want in that moment in time. So imagine going up to a concierge and, there's a real problem. You're late for something and you need to get a ride right now, and Uber's not fast enough. And the concierge says, hold on, we have somebody at the hotel. They on the walkie-talkie and they get you a ride and they zip you down to the show. That's the idea of solving problems, the way that we meet somebody right there. It's resourcefulness. Concierge, resourcefulness. Think about those concepts are powerful. So if I start that way, it helps me really begin to say, okay, then how must I set up my communication if I truly own that? If I truly am trying to be, when I first meet somebody especially, just a resource, how does that affect what I say? So the next point here is that in order to understand where you're at, I do have to be good. You have to be good at asking the right questions. Now, again, we have context. If somebody's in a hotel, there is certain context. I mean, you're looking at your watch as the concierge and you realize somebody's coming from the pool and they're kind of looking around. May I help you? Perhaps you were looking for somewhere to get lunch. Dinner time, somebody's dressed up and they're milling around. Perhaps I could make some suggestions. Where are you headed tonight? Great. Here's a list of everything in that section of the city. Would you like me to arrange for a ride? You see what I'm saying? You can anticipate some of it based on context. So, for example, if we have somebody that's trying to communicate with an expired listing, we have context. It's very clear. A probate, somebody's passed. It's very clear. Even if we're circle prospecting around an area of the city, we can understand that we meet them completely unawares, but what would be interesting to a homeowner in any section? What's happening in the market? How's the market? So you see, to train the brain to be a concierge, you just kind of ride along this beam of light in your theater of your mind, imagining what are all the real scenarios we typically would run into as an agent, and being prepared to just converse about those things. But ultimately, after we've recognized we must introduce ourselves as in the appropriate way as a concierge, give them context as to how that concierge might relate to their situation, and then make an offer and just listen. That's the way you do it. So imagine how this all happened with scripting. I was taught this concept of some sort of universal script as if everybody were the same. And there were some good chunks in there, but it never really considered a true concierge. It was always designed to try to close for an appointment. Close for the appointment. Close for the, how many appointments you get today? Close. Well, how do you close for an appointment if the context is not now? How do you do it? And if your mindset is always closing for an appointment, you're missing where the meat of the business is, where the consistency, predictability, all of that lives in a longer term follow-up situation. It doesn't have to be way out there. You don't have to build a system. In fact, I wouldn't recommend it. I'd start with trying to find the people who are interested in making a move inside of 6 months, then 12 months maximum. Yes, I built a system originally that could go forever, but what's the sense in that? That's not good business. So you work from the cream, which you're all trying to get. Book it now. Get it now. Yes, there will be some of that. But right behind that not right now to about 90 days out, 120 days out, boy, is there some wonderful business in there just waiting for you to not over pursue them. They're waiting for you to be a concierge, serve and educate. So the key point early on is after you learn proper introduction. Sally, this is Danny Griffin from Griffin Realty Group. The reason I'm calling is because I noticed your beautiful house online and I noticed it didn't sell. That's who I am professionally. And I'm calling because I'm interrupting you because I noticed this thing and I noticed it happen. So now I make my offer. So I'd like to send you some information that will help you sell it the next time. I'm not asking for the business. I'm not asking for an appointment. I'm actually going to give away my best what to do information for free. I'm going to give her my plan. I'm also going to take the time to give some insightful information without my interpretation and my insight, of course, but we're going to take 5 or 6 properties and send it to her. Now, we could do that with any seller. You see, because it's a universally appealing offer for anybody thinking about selling inside the next 12 months, hopefully 6 months, to consider the universal immutable steps that they should plan on going through. And then the 5 or 6 properties with full pictures, full details, full write-ups, everything that will help them find out what the money is really buying out there as it compares to theirs. Well, that's universally appealing. And it all came from this concierge mindset. What would I give away? What offer can I make to any type of seller? Yes, I'm going to recognize their context. I'm going to give that to them so they know I know them in some way, or they know I'm trying to help them in some way. Because what that allows me to do is now open up how I can go deeper and help them deeper. Is there a next step? Is there really a prospecting opportunity? So the third point here is to discover why they're really moving and help both of you clarify timing, meaning me and them. So after I've offered that, if somebody's really, if they're well met in that, and usually this has to do before you get the why they're moving, somebody with a real why who wants to sell soon or in the near future, and buy soon or in the near future, or become an agent for that matter when we're recruiting, they'll accept the offer of general information that would help them. Why wouldn't they? Well, what kind of information? Well, it's actually a copy of my plan. These are sort of the immutable steps that any buyer, seller, or agent would go through. It's what to do. It's my best stuff. You should take it, right? You don't have to do business with me, but you should take it. Oh, okay. It's a very rhetorical situation for those that have real timing. But then, of course, we have to ask so that we don't now just assume there's context. Just because they say yes to some sort of an offer that we make doesn't mean they have real timing. So the next thing is to discover why they're really moving. Hey, by the way, while I have you, we've confirmed, hey, could I mail it to this address? Wonderful. I'll call you next week to make sure you got it. So now I have firmed up a potential to continue the relationship and continue to prospect this person or turn them into a very viable prospect. They're a soft one accepting the information and the offer. They become more firm as they begin to engage us. Now, maybe on that first call, maybe in that first meeting in an open house, maybe you can get into the next beat where you say, hey, by the way, while I have you, now that you have that information, why are we thinking about making a move? Why? Not when. Why? If somebody doesn't have a real reason why they're going to sell or buy property, it's most likely going to fall flat right there. You need a why to go through this crazy process of buying or selling property. It's harrowing. It's the single largest financial and emotional transaction most people will ever make in a lifetime. And that's just enough to drive everybody crazy. So now you be quiet because you've had the law of reciprocity as a concierge. Think about how you've ever gone somewhere and you've gone to the concierge and they answered a timely question. How much do you appreciate them? Maybe you even tip them because there's no necessary long-term follow-up. Maybe you're just so grateful that that's what happens. But you understand that now you'd be more than willing to open up to them. Now you're not standoffish. Now you're not embarrassed to walk up and ask a question. That's why at the best hotels, the concierge desk is just loaded with people who are just beaming. They're just the countenance, their face, the look. They're magnetically attractive and make you feel comfortable from afar. They're really good at this because they own it. They glow it, right? So, but by discovering why they're really moving, you can then help clarify the timing to see if it is now, right? So think about this. If I say, by the way, while I have you, why are you moving? Why are you selling? Why are you buying? And then I listen to them and their answer, and I really hear them. And then that's where my creative, my human comes in. Wow, that sounds like a pretty big reason. On a scale of 1 to 10, how motivated are you? See, we always say when, but a lot of people can't answer that because there's a lot going on in their mind. They don't really know what they don't know. They're a little bit anxious about it. They're emotional about it. They certainly don't know what we know when it comes to planning. So I don't jump all over them about when because they might not know. I say on a scale of 1 to 10, how motivated would you say you are? And that's something powerful. The Net Promoter Score uses that same concept. On a scale of 1 to 10, how likely are you to refer us? Well, I'm a 7. Geez, that's low. We missed the boat. Or I'm a 9 or 10. How come only a 9? Yeah, I don't like to talk to people. I mean, you can get something from me in writing. Oh, no problem. So the scale of 1 to 10 question is a very clarifying thing that, wow, on a 10, geez, you know what I could do is I could bring this information to you. We could have a face-to-face appointment and I could bring this. And while I'm there, not only will I bring you this information that will be helpful, I'll add my insight to your situation so that you'll get this sandwich of value. You get the information, but now I'll be delivering it and you get what I think you should do and shouldn't do to prepare to sell, to prepare to buy, whatever it might be. You see how easy it is because we found out and we went through the process the right way? Nobody's running away. So let me reiterate this. Question on the table comes from the agent plan. Are you considerate of a prospect's timing or pushing too hard? And the reason we have to consider this is because prospects pursued run away. Good prospects, because you are about you, not them. So how do you overcome that? Too, you start with the mindset of a concierge desk attendee, okay? You must learn how to give away your best what to do information for free. And 3, that will help you discover why they're really moving, because they'll answer the question, why are you really doing this, right? It's a lot to do. And that'll help both of you clarify the timing when you ask on a scale of 1 to 10, how motivated are you because of that reason? That'll really help you. And then you can close for the appointment if it's appropriate, where you can add value with an appointment. If you can't, stick to the information and follow up. All right, let me summarize it by saying, a wise man once taught me that prospects pursued run away. He was a great marketing guru, still is, smart guy. Although I believe in the aggressive pursuit of business, I've also learned that starting with the mindset of a concierge best serves the consumer and ultimately attracts more than enough business for us. It's critical to discover the real reason a prospect is moving and to work together in a way that respects their true timing. All right, now remember, you can take immediate action to get started in the right direction if you need to sell or buy property right now or in the near future. Or maybe you're an agent who needs some help too. You can also get our step-by-step guides. Everything's waiting at griffincourses.com. That's GRIFFIN courses.com. Also, don't forget you can, of course, subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen. Or you can find us on social media. We post everywhere we possibly can, so that you can find us easily. Just remember looking for the Griffin Realty Group, the nice little winged griffin in the logo. There are other griffins out there, lots of my distant cousins, I suppose, but that's where you can find us. We'd also appreciate it, of course, if you would comment and share our content with anyone thinking about selling, buying, or becoming an agent so that they can get the information that they need to be successful. But remember this, we sign off the same way all the time here. Nobody's coming for you. Nobody. So go get to work on a plan for buying, selling, or becoming a successful real estate agent, and we'll see you in the next episode to help you do just that. Thanks again.